Here are some more examples. In this first one, each term, example 4 here, each term obviously has a 6 in it, so I can take the 6 out. Essentially divide each term by 6. The first term becomes an x, and the second term becomes a 1. 6 times x plus 1. In example 5, 6a squared plus 3a, you can easily see the a in each term, but if you realize this 6 is 2 times 3, then you realize there's a 3 in each term as well. So we factor out the 3 and the a. If I factor out a 3a, this first term becomes a 2a, and I get that by thinking, what do I need to multiply 3a by to give me this term? Because when I distribute, this is going to be 2a plus something over here. And when I distribute 3a times this plus 3a times that, I need to get these two terms. So 3a times what gives me 6a squared. And 3a times 2a, you should be able to see, gives you 6a squared. Now 3a times what over here gives me 3a. The answer is just 1. It's 2a plus 1. And that's our answer. It's now factored. These are the two factors, 3a and 2a plus 1. And again, you could think of that as three factors, 3 and a and 2a plus 1. But either way, it's factored. Our original expression is now broken up into pieces that, when multiplied together, will give us that original expression. Now this next one, example 6, looks really bad, but it's not too hard. You can do each piece individually. Look at the numbers first, the 12 and the 8, and then we'll look at the x's and then the y's and then the z's. Okay, but first the numbers 12 and 8. Well, 12 and 8 have a common factor of 4. They also have a common factor of 2, but 4 is the largest common factor, the greatest common factor, so we factor out the 4. And now let's look at the x's. There's an x squared and an x to the 4th. The largest common factor there would be x squared. And now look at the y's. There's a y to the 5th and a y to the 4th. The largest common factor there is y to the 4th. And then the z's. I have a z cubed and a z to the 4th. The largest common factor is z cubed. And what I've done with that little thought process is I have found this is the greatest common factor between these two monomials, or between those two terms. So now I put my parentheses, and I notice the plus sign here. I'm going to have one thing plus another, and then my close parentheses, and I need to figure out what those two things are going to be. So first I ask myself, what do I need to multiply this by to give me that? In other words, I'm going to have this times this, and when I multiply them together, they have to give me that. And that's not really that hard to do, because we can do this a piece at a time as well. Look at the 4 first. 4 times what gives me 12? 4 times 3. And then look at the x. X squared times what gives me x squared? Well, just 1. So you could put a times 1 here, but that's completely unnecessary, so don't write it. Multiplying by 1 has no effect. So the x's are fine. Now let's look at the y's. I have a y to the 4th and a y to the 5th. What do I need to multiply y to the 4th by to give me y to the 5th? And the answer is y to the 1st, or just y. And then look at the z's, z cubed and z cubed. What do I need to multiply this by, z cubed, to give me that? Well, just 1. So 3y times 1, or just 3y. So that's done. And then I have my plus sign. And now I think, what do I need to multiply this term by to give me that? And I can do this a piece at a time also. 4 times what gives me 8? 4 times 2. And then x squared times what gives me x to the 4th? And the answer is x squared. And then y to the 4th times what gives me y to the 4th? Well, just 1. But I don't need to put a times 1 because it's understood. Multiplying by 1 won't change that factor. And then the z cubed right here. Z cubed times what gives me z to the 4th? Well, z cubed times z. and I'm done. If I take this and multiply it by that, in other words, if I distribute, when I multiply this by that, I should get my original expression, and to do that I have to distribute. So I have to multiply this by the 3y, and that gives me that, and then I have to multiply this by the 2x squared z, and that will result in that. So this is my answer, and we're done. It's factored. Kind of a long one, but at least factoring out the greatest common factor from each term can be pretty systematic. Not everything about factoring can be broken down into a systematic procedure like that, but this can.